Attention is a currency. Okay, anyone and anything you pay attention to will eventually pay attention back to you. In the real world, violence and food, these are the only two real currencies, right? But we as humans, as we evolved, as our brains evolved, as we became more and more complex, attention became more important to the extent that when you pay attention to violence and food, right? For example, the arms race or the green revolution, you will become better at it. Become better than the other countries at it, and then eventually you will dominate. So, what is attention really? Like, for example, evolution, for example, itself was a process of paying attention to certain things depending on the environment and not paying attention to certain things. Right? As those things become obsolete, you pay less and less attention to it, they die out. Your appendix, for example, and you pay attention to certain other things, your brain, for example, and then that becomes more important. In certain environments, physicality becomes more important. So, what is nature doing here? She's basically paying attention to certain things and not paying attention to certain other things. Now, this was an unconscious process. One can say, at least we were not conscious of it as animals. But as we evolved, we became more and more conscious and it became more and more in our control, right? So, every company, remember, every company, every person, and even a baby for that matter, is basically trying to get your attention. Even money is basically quantified attention, right? When I give you my money, it's because you have my attention. It's because your product has my attention that I need it for a certain reason or I want it for a certain reason. Therefore, I'm giving you my money. Now, whether it is an inheritance, okay, or a criminal organization, whatever these two extremes of life, you have to pay attention. Otherwise, it's going to fritter away. Either you pay attention or someone else has to pay attention. Any intensity of money has to be paid attention to. Now, women as a collective, okay, they tend to pay a lot of attention to their outer appearance as a collective, not individual women. Generally, they pay attention to their outer appearance. Men as a collective pay attention to success and money, okay, and then they complain that they are not treated well as human beings when they are ugly or unsuccessful. This is just sad because the way the world is, it is only going to pay attention to what you pay attention to, right? The fact that Fortune 500 CEO has to wear makeup is just ridiculous. Like, why does she have to? She doesn't have to. It is just a concept. Yeah. So, your attention builds companies. Okay. It gives money value because money doesn't have value, just paper, right? But when you pay attention to it, it becomes valuable. And it makes people feel worth it. So, your attention is very valuable. And therefore, you must realize the power of it and start spending it consciously because it's practically the most valuable currency you have. Right? Most of you are unsuccessful because your attention is not regular. I don't expect you to have constant attention. Don't be attentive to something 24 hours a day. Pay attention to other things too. But when you want to do something properly, when you want to do something intensely, you have to at least give 2 hours and 2 hours a day. And when you go more and more advanced, 2, 5, 10, 12, 15 hours a day, if you want to really make this, right? If you want to make it really successful. So the world only treats you as you treat yourself. As I've said this before. And what is that? How are you treating yourself? By what you pay attention to. They only see what you pay attention to. So if a woman is just like, oh, I'm pretty, I'm pretty, I'm pretty. But when she gets old, they're like, that is why actresses don't work. Because she's constantly paying attention to the way she looks. And after a point, your looks don't matter. Right? So unless you have an intense actress, like a very good actress, like a Meryl Streep or something, only then you'll last to old age. It's just that simple. So maybe it's a little harder for a woman to be successful when she's older. But if she's constantly paying attention to something other than her looks, maybe her acting, maybe her business skills, that is bound to happen. Now, if you pay attention to money, okay, people are going to see you as greedy. But if you pay attention to something that they want, they will give you attention in the form of money. My advice, pay attention to yourself. Hone yourself to such a level of intensity that when you walk into a room, right, people will have to pay attention to you. They will have no option but to pay attention to you. And not just that, when you hone yourself to a certain level of intensity, You can pay attention to anything. Attention to you becomes a commodity. For most people, attention is a compulsion. They pay attention to things that they think are important, or that the world thinks is important, or their wife thinks is important, their husband thinks is important, but they are not paying attention to what the situation needs, which is why most people are in trouble, which is why most people don't understand how life works. So when you have honed yourself to a certain level, you can just pay attention to whatever the situation needs and then come back to yourself and then again pay attention to something else. It just becomes a commodity, not a compulsion. Okay, how do you do this? Concentrate and analyze yourself. Analyze the four major pillars. One is knowledge, okay, physical ability, awareness, okay, and your feelings. If you can control your feelings, you have mastery over your life. So when you analyze your feelings, why am I feeling angry? Why am I feeling like this today? Why is this happening in my life? How am I attracting this? What knowledge do I have to counter this? All these things, when all of life just becomes a commodity, right? Then you will realize that you can play with anything. It's just a game. But only you are there. And most importantly, remember that the world is an illusion. Okay? When you take the world seriously, you are giving attention that you can give yourself to the world unnecessarily. The moment you don't take it seriously, the moment you understand that it is all game, then you can pay attention to yourself, because the entire world is from you. Okay, it exists for you, literally. If you are dead, it's not going to exist for you. Finished. Right? So when you adjust yourself, when you hone yourself, the world will have to adjust. And then paying attention to small things like making money,